if you're vibrating love, other things can't survive.
You naturally move up on the human scale of consciousness. You naturally expand your consciousness. Things that we think are miracles that shouldn't happen are actually very possible on a quantum level. And when we realize that we're primarily energy, everything makes sense. And it's not that crazy to think that your body can heal itself and that miracles can happen. If you truly were listening to your wisdom and very connected to your intuition and followed it with every choice you made, you wouldn't ever make a choice that's not serving you. So then you wouldn't make a choice that creates pain for you.
Let's talk about heartbreak. You've shared that you experienced a lot of it and that it helped you to awaken. Can you expand on that?
It took me dating a lot of people to realize.
Today I have with me Alisha Kapani. Welcome, Alisha.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. You talk about how it's our natural state to live in a state of joy, love, abundance, but that many people are anxious and depressed. If someone is feeling anxious and depressed, the thought of feeling joy sounds so out of reach. So instead of reaching for an emotion that feels unattainable, what can they aim for?
Yeah, so as someone who had depression myself for 5 years, I totally get that. Like, I didn't think I could feel joy, and if I thought I could feel joy, I really thought it could only happen if something changed externally in my life. So, what I realized was when I actually welcomed the emotions I was feeling when I had depression, so hopelessness and despair and shame and all those energies, and truly welcomed them, they actually dissolved. And then I naturally felt more peace and more joy. So that's what I mean when I say it's your natural state. You don't have to try to feel joy or peace. It actually will be there when you dissolve the other energies. So if you're carrying fear, for example, and you keep welcoming the fear until it dissolves, and we can talk about how I do that, you're not scared anymore. So then you're at peace. So that's why it's your natural state. You don't have to try to feel peace when the fear is not there. You don't have to try to feel joy when despair is not there. You just naturally feel more joy. And so that's how I knew that I had started to heal from depression. A friend asked me that the other day. She's like, "How did you know you had healed from depression?" And I said, when I started to feel even 2% more unconditional joy and peace, meaning nothing outside in my life had to change first. Like I didn't have to get a new job, get a new relationship, stay busy, travel more, anything before I just started to feel more joy. And it did start with just 2%. And then it kept growing and growing and growing because I noticed it instead of diminishing it. I was like, "Oh, I actually am feeling lighter today than I did yesterday." And I brought awareness to it instead of like, "Oh, but I'm still not feeling as much joy as I did like 5 years ago." I really blew it up instead of diminishing it.
Okay. And when you say dissolve, when you speak about those negative emotions,
Yeah.
you mean kind of not paying attention to them, or how would you dissolve them?
Yeah, so they dissolve naturally because emotions are energy and your body knows how to dissolve or transmute energy. So it happens naturally when you're not in resistance, meaning you're not trying to make it go away. You're not trying to make it wrong that you feel this way. You're not judging yourself for feeling this way. You're not trying to change it. You're actually like bringing awareness to it with love because there is a part of you that is scared. There is a part of you that's in pain. And if you can have compassion for the one that's feeling that way by bringing more awareness to it instead of less, it will actually move on its own. And if you're in like 0% resistance, it can move very fast. But you don't actually have to be in 0% resistance for the energy to move. Like, let's say part of you really doesn't want to feel this way and really doesn't want to feel what you're feeling, and you're only like somewhat willing to bring awareness to what you're feeling. Like, that does make a difference because I was not, when I started doing this work, 100% willing. Like, I'm willing to feel everything I'm feeling. I'm like that now because I know what it creates and I know energy moves faster. But I didn't have to be that way when I started healing from depression. It was just like I had 2% more willingness to feel what I was feeling instead of try to distract from it.
Mm. These are things that I really wish I knew too, because I also had feelings of anxiousness and depression. And I know you touched on your story. I would love for you to dive more into that.
Mm.
You also talk about how you had suicidal thoughts. Can you walk us through what life was like for you then and how you managed to now be living a fulfilling life?
Yeah. During those 5 years that I had depression, I went through every single phase with it that, like, I think everyone goes through these phases when they have depression, or at least some of these phases. The first phase was, like, I didn't realize what was happening at all, and I just thought this feeling was gonna go away. So I didn't try anything for the first year. I just thought, "Oh, it's because 'cause I'm graduating, I started birth control, I thought that's why I feel this way."
Like it's
Sorry?
normal?
Yeah,
Like
I just thought it's normal to feel this way, like, "Oh, I'm graduating, I'm not gonna have, like, the same life anymore," I thought, "I'm on birth control, people say your hormones are affected on birth control," so I didn't try to do anything for the first year, I literally just thought this feeling was gonna go away. And then the second year is when I really wanted to heal because I was getting temporary joy from the relationship I was in, and then when that relationship ended, I didn't have this temporary conditional joy anymore, so I had no joy anymore. So then I was, like, actually wanting to heal. So then I didn't know what else to do at the time, so I just went to conventional medicine, I just went to my doctor. So then, obviously, that method is all about pharmaceuticals, like, that's all that they really know how to offer, and then they tell me also go see a psychiatrist. They didn't know what else to do, so that's what I did. So I was on different types of antidepressants and anxiety medication and seeing a psychiatrist, and, like, nothing was working for me, and the medication was having no effect on me, positive or negative. Like, it was like I was taking nothing. And so then they just kept increasing the dosage and putting me on different types, multiple at once. And I'm like, I don't feel anything. Nothing is different. And they're like, okay, well, just do CBT therapy. And no, I'm not saying anything bad about it for anyone that's tried it, that's cognitive behavioral therapy. That's just more about shifting your thoughts. And so I still was not welcoming my emotions. I was just trying to change my thoughts and still, like, was suppressing what I was feeling. So I was just not seeing any change in anything that I was doing. And so then I started trying a bunch of other things, like holistic things, alternative things. I was Googling how to heal from depression and going to even the second page on Google, which nobody really does, because I was like, I'm willing to try anything. And then I was just spending thousands of dollars every month on every type of healing modality I could find, trying to heal, and still nothing was working because I was trying everything from this state of something is wrong with me. I don't want to feel this way anymore. It was still resistance. It wasn't welcoming my emotions with love and compassion. It was just, I don't want to feel this way anymore. So that's why I found that even when I was trying things that are actually really powerful that I use today, they weren't working for me back then. So that was kind of the phases. And then I noticed that I really started to heal when I surrendered, which meant, like, when I stopped trying to heal so badly, like something's wrong with me, I have to do something. I was just like trying so hard to heal, and I kind of like gave up in a way. I was like, I don't think anything works. And so I just like stopped trying to heal so much. I stopped all of the healing modalities I was doing, and when I did that, there was a shift in my energy from, like, trying really hard to, like, there was, like, a relaxation, and when that happened, I was actually able to welcome in the resource that I needed. I found my mentor, I found Mindbody Medicine, and then I healed right away. So I was actually able to tell what my body actually needed and was asking for when I wasn't, like, in this hyperactive state of, "Oh, I really need to fix myself, I really need to heal myself."
Mm.
So, yeah, I guess short story on how I got to where I am today. It was just like finding mind body medicine and realizing like the one thing I was missing was giving compassion to myself and actually bring awareness to what I was feeling. I didn't realize I was, even though I was trying to heal, I still was doing it with, like, resistance. So that really changed everything for me, and then really I started to, like, understand the body, that it's electromagnetic and that it does transmute energy on its own, and understanding that just made me even more willing to feel what I was feeling because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, this is actually going to dissolve it." And so just, like, the way I see life now is the reason that my life is, like, so fulfilling now. I don't see it the same way at all like I did before. I see everything is happening for me. Everything is a reflection of me, meaning if something happens in my life that triggers me or that, like, is unwanted, I know it's only happening to show me what I'm carrying, that I'm carrying fear, shame, guilt, these beliefs that aren't serving me, and when I receive them and I heal them, my problems go away. So it's just like a peaceful way of living life. And yeah, that's kind of how I got to this point.
Two questions that arose from that.
Okay.
One is, when you were being put on all these different prescription medications and they were upping your dosage and they were adding different things in there, did anything else happen to you physically or mentally? Like, did you develop any other symptoms besides the anxiety and depression?
Actually, no, which I'm really, really grateful for because I think one of 2 things, like, let's say I'd found something that actually was working for me, I think I would have never truly healed from depression because at that time, I didn't care about true healing. So if I had found a pill that made me feel better, I would have been really happy with it. But life had something bigger in store for me than just suppress what you feel. And I think that's why I didn't have any positive reaction to it or negative reaction to it either. Like, my body definitely made it clear not to take the medication, and I didn't understand this at the time, that when something feels heavy, it's your body's way of telling you that you're buying into a lie or this thing is not required or there's a different way to do it. So I didn't realize, like, it felt so heavy to take medication that the first time I took an antidepressant, I sat there crying for hours because I didn't wanna take it, and then I ended up taking it. And so it was my body's wisdom telling me not to take it, but what I wanna tell everyone on this call is, like, you actually can't make a wrong choice. So I know a lot of people are worried to try something that's, like, not what their body needs, and then they're screwed for life because now they have these side effects or whatever. But the truth is anything can be healed. So even if you made a decision that wasn't what your body was asking for, you can still heal the effects of that. So give yourself the freedom to, like, make choices to give you clarity so that you get more connected to your wisdom. That's the only reason I know what my wisdom sounds like and feels like is because I had to try a bunch of things and then realize, "Oh, you know what? My body actually did tell me not to do this." And I just, like, paid more attention to every choice that I made and what it felt like in my body and what got created. So, give yourself the freedom.
Yes, I love that message. And isn't that so incredible how if we do listen to our bodies, it's telling us what to do and what not to do. And it's oftentimes, I still kick myself because I do this. I'll do something and then immediately after, I'll be like, ah, like I had that feeling and I know that feeling. I recognize that feeling. If I would have just paused for half a second and listened to it, then I would have made the choice that would have been better for me.
Yeah, that's true, and I understand the beating yourself up. And if you could also just see it as, like, the more times it happens, the more times you don't listen to your body, the more clear it is, like, "Okay, now I really know what a yes feels like and what a no feels like." So if you could try to receive the experience as, like, instead of "I made a mistake," it's, "I'm even more clear than I ever was before."
Yes, 100%. You get better and better at it every single time.
Yeah.
Other question that arose from your story, you mentioned spending thousands on healing modalities every month. What were some of the healing modalities that you did?
I was trying acupuncture, hypnosis, EFT, mostly those. And then just like I was about to try other stuff, like what's that thing called where you're in like a really cold liquid nitrogen tank? It's like cryotherapy or
Oh, yeah,
something.
cryotherapy.
And that wasn't even, like, known to really help with depression, but, like, I was like, "I'm willing to try anything." But I'm always cold, so I didn't end up trying that, but, like, I was willing to, like, try anything and everything. Like, every time I found a practitioner or heard of a different practitioner on different summits I was listening to, I would just try different programs, like online programs and meditations and, like, anything I could find.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is a quote from your website. I became passionate about learning how to heal by expanding your consciousness.
Mhm.
How does expanding your consciousness help you heal?
Yeah, so a good way to explain it, if anyone has ever seen the human scale of consciousness, and if people don't know what that is, it's just like a scale of emotions essentially, and shame is the lowest emotion that a human can feel according to that scale. And then it goes up like fear, guilt, apathy, courage, love, joy, peace, keeps going up. So as you move up on that scale, you're expanding your consciousness. But you don't have to try to expand your consciousness. That's exactly what we talked about in the beginning. Your natural state is joy. Your natural state is peace. Your natural state is love. So when you just welcome those other energies that were lower on the scale, shame, fear, guilt, you naturally move up on the human scale of consciousness. You naturally expand your consciousness. So that's how you heal, because you dissolved what wasn't serving you and you became more in alignment with who you truly are.
Are you familiar with Dr. David Hawkins?
Yeah, he wrote Power versus Force, which that scale is from.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, people see it all over now, but I originally saw it from his book. Actually, that's his book, Letting Go, and also has the map of consciousness in it. But yeah, the way you're speaking, it seemed like you probably would have been familiar with his work. Also, your background is in chemistry.
Chemical engineering, yeah. And then I studied natural medicine at Quantum University. So that's when I studied quantum physics and realized that things are possible that are not taught in classical Newtonian physics. So it just made me even more open to realizing that like things that we think are miracles that like shouldn't happen are actually very possible on a quantum level. And when we realize that we're primarily energy, everything makes sense, and it's not that crazy to think that your body can heal itself and that miracles could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mention your background because I love that you're talking about this because it takes something that is spiritual, as some people would call woo-woo, and it makes it more digestible, understandable for the logic brain.
Yeah, and actually what I wanna say as someone who was an engineer, very analytical, I wouldn't say I was skeptical like most people are that are, like, really scientific. For whatever reason, I just this felt true to me, felt light to me. But I would say that understanding that the body is primarily energy and electromagnetic and understanding the science behind it definitely made me more open to trying this modality. But what I want to say to people is on the human scale of consciousness, reason is below love. So if you're going to stay in reason and you're like, no, I have to understand it first, if you actually went straight to love, you would never need to understand it in order to heal. And that is how I healed. I healed before I understood why I healed, before I understood how my body moved the energy. I was just willing to give myself love anyways, and I healed anyways because love is above reason. So you don't have to understand it first. If people on here are willing, you probably have to be at a point where you're desperate to heal that you're like, okay, I don't need to understand it. I'll just let it in. But reason can sometimes keep you stuck, especially if it's coming from skepticism.
Yes, and that rock bottom part is probably what needs to happen for most people. I was there, so I understand what you're speaking to. But another thing that you're alluding to is that when you're at a certain vibration, certain things cannot be at that vibration as well, right? So if you're vibrating love, other things can't survive.
That's very true. And because everything is a reflection of your state of consciousness, when you're in the frequency of love, things that don't align with that just fade away. You're not craving super unhealthy foods. You're not attracted to people that aren't serving you. Like everything rearranges itself because it can't exist in the frequency of love. Or consciousness of love. I'm going to say I recently realized that I've been using consciousness, frequency, and vibration as the same thing, and they're not actually the same thing. You would want your vibration to be high and your frequency to be low, actually. So I do want to clarify that because I've been like using it interchangeably and it's not the same.
Oh, wow. Okay. I use them interchangeably as well, frequency and vibration. We want our frequency to
Yeah.
be low.
Yeah, so the human, sorry, what do they call it? The Schumann frequency of the planet is really low. It's like zero point 0.1 hertz. And if you've ever done heart math and tried to come into a state of coherence, that's a state of zero point 0.1 hertz. It's a very low frequency. But the point is, you want to be in harmony with the planet. So you want your frequency to be in harmony with the planet, which is a very low frequency, and you'd want your vibration to be high. And apparently, I only understand like I think it's like 24% of the understanding of this, and that's apparently part of my divine timing to explore this and like really be able to explain to people why you'd want your frequency to be low and your vibration to be high. Apparently, there isn't a lot of studies about this, and it's like something I'm meant to do, but we'll see. That's the explanation I can give for now. It kind of has to do with the fact that frequency and time have an inverse relationship. So, like, the faster your molecules are moving, the lower your frequency would be, if that makes sense. But
Okay.
essentially, they're not the same thing.
Okay. They'll have to be a part two. Everyone will have to come back to hear to hear the rest of that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about heartbreak. You've shared that you experienced a lot of it and that it helped you to awaken. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it helped me realize that I had like abandonment wounds and fears, and like I was just really abandoning myself in my relationships back in the day, because of fear of being alone or fear of someone leaving me, so that I wouldn't like share how I was feeling in a relationship because I was so afraid that the person's going to leave me if I share how I feel. And because your beliefs create your reality, that's exactly what I saw. Every time I shared how I was feeling, the person I was with would leave, and then when they're less triggered, they come back and they leave, come back, leave, come back. So that experience showed me what I was carrying. So that's how it helped me awaken. Like, I just had to date a lot of people to finally realize, oh, they're reflections of me. It's not just they were insecure, they were jealous, or they had anxiety. It took me dating a lot of people to realize, okay, even though they seem like all these guys were different, they were all carrying the same energies of like shame, unworthiness, I'm not good enough, fear, and I was carrying them too. And it took me a lot of heartbreak to realize, okay, I'm carrying these energies. And then it really helped me see what I was carrying and helped me awaken.
How do you navigate this? Because we are never 100% healed. The person that we with is always going to be a reflection of what we have left to heal, and they'll always trigger us.
Yeah.
So, do you stay with the partner as they trigger you and you work through things together, or do you need to get to a certain place in your healing before you're ready for a lifelong partnership?
So I would say for everyone, it's actually a little bit different, right? So like um for me, if you were to talk to me 5 years ago, I didn't have any of these values. I didn't have any of these beliefs. I was still abandoning myself. I was still attracted to emotionally available men, that even if my partner tried to come into my life then, I wouldn't have been attracted to him. So I personally wasn't ready for him. But I see so many people out there who don't do any healing work at all, and they still find their person, and then they heal and grow with their person. And you are going to continuously always heal and grow with your person. So you don't need to be perfectly healed or healed to a certain amount to find your person. It just very much depends on your divine timing, for one, and also like your values. If, like, let's say it's important for you to have a partner who has the same values as you. I didn't have the values I have right now when I was younger. So like the kind of guys I would date then are not the kind of guys I would look for now. So I wouldn't have been ready for them then. So it really is different for every person. But I like that you said you'll never be fully healed. The person you're attracted to the most is the person who's going to help you heal the most. So even if you've done so much healing work, when you do meet your person, you're going to continue to be triggered, and that's not a bad thing. Like, you came here, you made a soul contract together to help each other heal these things, so that's normal.
Okay, I'm glad you said soul contract. Does that mean that you believe in soulmates?
I do, and I've done a lot of studying about this through theta healing, that there's different types of soulmates. So there's like soulmates essentially means you have a soul connection, meaning you've had a past life together. So you could just have like an unfinished business soulmate. You can have soulmates that aren't romantic, like your mom. My mom and my sister have had many past lives with. So those are soulmates, but they're not romantic soulmates. You can have compatible soulmates. You can have divine timing soulmates, which means everything would align in your divine timing. Like, let's say something's going to change in my career, it's going to align with your life too. It's not going to screw over your career. Like, everything in our divine timing would be aligned. We would share the same vision. There's also diamond in the rough soulmates. So you could meet someone that you have a really strong connection with, but like they're not ready for you, kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I do believe in soulmates, and I do believe in past lives.
How do you know that you've lived other lives with your mom and your sister?
Um, First of all, like I get like visions and flashbacks and stuff like that, but also when I do theta healing sessions, I end up learning a lot about my past lives, because with theta healing, you get to the root cause on where this thing started. So sometimes it's something that happened in this life, sometimes it was just something that was passed on through generations, and sometimes it was something that happened in a past life, and that's why I'm triggered by it now. And then when I find out what it is, I'm like, "Oh, that makes so much sense, like, why I feel this way when nothing in this current life would have me be triggered by something like that." So, I find it very interesting to learn about past lives.
Yes, me
Yeah.
too. As far as dating, do you think that if we enter a relationship, that the amount of time we're going to be with that person is predetermined, or do you think we're given freedom and that it's kind of up to us?
Um, so I've always wondered that, and I always wondered if when you die, is that part of your divine timing? And I don't actually think it is part of your divine timing. So I think we came here to integrate certain learnings and virtues, and once you do that, it's kind of like you came here to do what you wanted to do, and like you're ready to leave. That doesn't necessarily mean you will leave right away, but you are ready to leave. Um, I would say if you can create more for humanity by let's say dying and transitioning back into pure love, then that's what's going to happen. But if you being physically embodied on this planet is going to create the most for this planet, then you wouldn't die yet. Like there's still so much more you're meant to do here.
Okay, before we come here, we have lessons, we have things that we want to learn, and we don't know exactly how that's going to happen, but we'll be attracted to different people, places, circumstances, relationships that are going to teach us the lessons that we're here to learn in order to get to the next level, whether that's consciousness or when you are reincarnated.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say we have free will for everything except the things that are in our divine timing. But the things that are in our divine timing are things we really, really, really want. It's like a true heart's desire that you won't care that you don't have free will over that. You want to marry that person, you want to have those kids with that person, you want to do that thing with your career. Those are divine timing things. But everything else, I believe we have free will.
How can you tell when it's your higher self or your intuition that's speaking to you and when it's a thought coming from the mind?
That's a really great question too, because in theta healing, we took this course, it's called You and the Creator. And we ask the same question to like the creator, your higher self, the different planes of existence to see what answer you get. And then you realize you get a different answer depending who you're asking. So your higher self usually is like a little bit sassy, and your higher self, let's put it this way, like your higher self doesn't care if you have to go through pain in order to learn. It almost wants you to go through pain in order to learn. But that's not the only way to heal. That's one way, and that's a way for most people. That pain is just a great awakener. But another way to heal is by being connected to your intuition, your wisdom, or if you're religious, you can call it creator, God, source, whatever. When you're connected to that wisdom, you don't have to suffer. It's like we were talking about earlier, your body already knew it didn't need that thing. So if you truly were listening to your wisdom and very connected to your intuition and followed it with every choice you made, you wouldn't ever make a choice that's not serving you. So then you wouldn't make a choice that creates pain for you. You wouldn't have to go through pain in order to awaken. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yes. So if I get a feeling to I'm trying to decipher between, I guess, a feeling and a thought.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So everyone's intuition speaks to them differently, but I can say for myself, I get a knowing or like a feeling. So I'm claircognizant, I'm clairsentient. So I just feel it in my body that when something feels heavy and when something feels light. That's how I know it's my wisdom. But I can only tell if something feels heavy and light when I've cleared like other triggers in the way. Because if I'm scared, everything feels heavy. But by now, because I've been paying attention, I can tell the difference in the essence of fear versus heavy. Like, I've just been doing this for a while that I'm like, even those actually feel different, that I don't have to completely move through fear to be able to tell. But for most people, you would have to move through a lot of your triggers first to be able to feel, does this truly feel light or does this truly feel heavy? But let's say your intuition speaks to you through like thoughts, right? Like let's say you're clairaudient, so you like hear things. then you might be guided to do stuff based on a thought. I'm personally someone that doesn't get insight that way. So you would have to practice, like when you get a thought and then you follow that, what gets created? How did it feel in your body? Just keep paying attention and then you'll be able to tell, okay, that was a thought that came from my wisdom, or that was a thought that came from fear or reprogramming or that sort of thing.
Feel like so many people in the world cannot even they're not even in touch with their intuition because there are so many distractions and there's so much that's blocking that connection with themselves. What can they do to become more in touch with that?
I would say before you make any choice in your life, you pause before and you see how it feels instead of just assuming I have to do this thing. Because there's a lot of choices we make because we think we have to do it. I have to go to this job every day. It's just what you have to do. What if you actually paused, tuned into your body before you went to work every day? You would actually feel whether you like that job or not. But what I'll say is most people are too afraid to do that because they don't want to realize that they hate their job, or they're in a relationship that is not fulfilling. They don't want to bring that awareness because then they're afraid there's nothing they can do about it. They think they're stuck in the relationship, stuck in the job, so they don't even want to allow themselves to feel what they're feeling and know what they already know. So I would say to those people, we got to work on welcoming fear first, because fear will be the reason you don't listen to your wisdom and don't honor it and don't follow it.
Yes, I've brought this image up before on a previous episode, but it's coming to me again where there's a child that's holding a little teddy bear, and in front of the child is Jesus, and he's holding a giant teddy bear behind his back.
Mhm.
And he's telling the child, just trust me, because the child does not want to let go of the little teddy bear. And that's kind of, I think, what you're saying as far as the job or the relationship. Like, that's what the person knows, that's what the person is comfortable with, and that's their reality, and they can't see anything different. They can't see what's on the other side or what could be theirs if they did let go and trust.
Yeah. And to those people, I always tell them the longing is evidence that it's available. You don't feel a longing or a desire for something else unless it's available for you right now. So you don't feel the longing to be with someone other than the person you're with unless there's someone else that's like more compatible for you. You don't feel a longing for a different way to receive an income if there isn't a different way for you to receive an income that brings you more joy. Like you only feel it because it's available. That's what I say to those people.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. That's it. I love that. Okay, how does increasing your vibration affect your physical health?
Yeah, so like we were saying earlier, when you're in like the frequency of like peace, love, harmony, essentially, things don't have the same negative effect on your body. Things can't exist in your body. So let's use the example, this might be a really intense example, but cancer. Fear is an energy that goes along with cancer. So if you don't have fear in your body, cancer can't exist in your body. So if we are clearing the energy of fear, it can't be there anymore. You're in a high enough vibration that that just can't exist in your body. So that's how it would affect your health, because you're in a frequency where these diseases and illnesses don't exist, because those diseases and illnesses are created because of an energy. It's your body's way of trying to show you, hey, you're carrying fear. Hey, you're carrying all this stuff that's not serving you. That's what an illness is. It's like your body's way of trying to get your attention so you don't ignore it anymore. So it just means you're carrying energies that aren't serving you. So obviously, when you dissolve them, the illness can't exist anymore in your body.
Mm, beautifully said. What does self-love mean to you?
It means total acceptance of myself, no matter what choices I make, decisions I make, what I look like, what I accomplish. It's like unconditional love for myself. It means, like, I will receive everything I'm feeling instead of rejecting it or making myself wrong or you shouldn't feel that way. It's like, no matter what you're feeling, like, I cried over a haircut the other day, and the old me maybe would have been like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you doing that? Like, that's stupid. There's worse things happening in the world." But total self-love is like, "It's okay you're upset about this. I don't know why you're upset about this, but it's okay. I'm here for you. I love you." That's what I think self-love is.
Okay, part of me wants to challenge that and say, well, why would you, if you love yourself, unconditionally, and that includes what you look like, then why would you feel an impulse to cry about the haircut?
So that's what I mean. So I cried about the haircut because there's something for me to heal. Like there was clearly some sort of energy there that I needed to clear. And if I welcome it, it will move. And so the next time I get a bad haircut, I probably won't cry about it because I cleared what was underneath it. So total self love is the only thing that's going to actually allow yourself to heal, if that makes sense. Like otherwise, I'm going to reject the energies I'm carrying and never truly heal them and then cry every time I get a haircut, you know?
Yes, yes. Okay. So non-judgment towards yourself and including the way you respond or react to things.
Yeah.
What is something that you're really excited about right now?
Ooh, I'm publishing a book on quantum physics for beginners, which is what we were talking about earlier. I'm excited about it because I truly think it will help people realize that more is possible than what they've been taught. So then they're going to be more open to things happening in their life. And it has like a bonus chapter on healing techniques. So even if people are reading the book just because they're interested in quantum physics, I'm really hoping by the time they get to the end of the book, if that person has any sort of illness or disease, they're going to realize way more is possible than what they've been taught. And maybe they'll actually be open to exploring it. So I'm super excited about that right now.
Congratulations. That is incredible.
Thanks.
I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
I like to give the listeners some tangible tools to use. So, someone listening has been feeling extremely anxious and depressed. When they feel it coming on, what's one tool that they can pull from their back pocket and use to help them in the moment?
Yeah. So my go-to tool for any emotion or trigger that I feel is the instant elevation tool. So it has 3 steps, A, B, and C. A is awareness. So as soon as I feel triggered, I bring awareness to where I feel it in my body. And anything more you can do to bring more awareness. So you can ask yourself questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense does this feel right now? Or does this energy have like a texture or a size, a temperature? And the answer to these questions does not mean anything. So you don't need to be right about this. It's just that when you're tuning in and like, oh, how intense does it feel right now? That was just 10 seconds right there where you weren't in resistance. You weren't trying to change it. You weren't trying to make it go away. You were actually bringing all your awareness to what you're feeling. So that's the point of the first step is to get you out of resistance and bring more awareness to what you're feeling. So because I've been doing this for so long, I pretty much just say, okay, where do I feel it in my body? And then I just bring awareness to that area. And that's usually enough for me, and I don't need to ask the other questions, but if you're just starting off, you can ask those other questions as a way to, like, get used to bringing more awareness to your pain because you've probably been doing the opposite. You've probably been trying to distract from it. So that's the first step is awareness. And then B is breathing, but it's conscious, slower breaths all the way down to your belly, so you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system response. For people that don't know what that is, that's like your rest and digest state, where your body already knows how to heal, do everything it needs to know how to do without you having to micromanage anything. That's the state you want to be in to activate healing. So when you have anxiety, you're most likely breathing up in your chest, like shallow breaths. So you want to soften your shoulders, imagine the breath coming all the way down to your belly. You can even imagine a red balloon inflating when you inhale, deflating when you exhale, because the more you imagine it, the breath will eventually follow the imagination. Like, let's say your breaths are not that deep at first. Just imagine your belly is inflating and deflating, and eventually you will have deeper breaths. So that's the first 2 steps, awareness and then breath. And then the last step, it's the least important step, but it's usually the only step that people do is conscious choice. So conscious choice means you're almost like choosing to shift your thoughts to something more positive. So it's like an affirmation or just like, I choose to be at peace. I choose to relax my body, or you're choosing to see things in a higher perspective. That's part C. But that is the least important part because if you do part C before you do A and B, you're actually going to feel your pain less. You're gonna feel less fear, you're gonna feel less despair if you're, like, trying to convince yourself you shouldn't feel that way. "Oh, there's nothing really to fear because this is not even a real threat," or whatever. If I say that to myself before, then my fear just temporarily lessened, and now it's harder for me to heal it because I can't feel it. I don't know where it is in my body. I can't bring awareness to the fear because I don't feel it as fully. So that's why part C is the last step after A and B, and you could even skip it altogether because, like I said at the beginning, your natural state is already joy and peace. So when you do A and B and you welcome your emotions and they dissolve, you're already going to feel more peace and joy that you don't have to choose to bring more of it in. It's just a way to amplify it if you want to.
Okay, so if you do step C first, then you're potentially repressing the emotions.
Yeah, and that's what almost everyone does. Like even when you're just comforting a friend and they're upset, you immediately go into comfort mode. So you tell them, "Oh, everything's going to be okay because of this, this, and that." And you actually just had them feel their pain temporarily less. You didn't actually help that person heal. If you really want to help that person heal, you could ask them questions to get them to bring more awareness to what they're feeling. They don't have to know you're trying to coach them or heal them. You could just be like, "I'm so sorry you feel that way. Like, where do you feel that in your body? Like, how intense does that feel?" Or like, just keep asking, "How do you feel?" until you notice they're actually dropping into their body. My mentor always says, if all I can do for someone is get them to have more awareness of what they're feeling, that person is going to heal eventually. If they have zero awareness of what they're feeling, the energy is not going anywhere. They're not conscious that anything needs to be healed. They're not going to make a different choice because they're able to just like suppress and go on with life. And that's not what they're meant to do. So I try to get people to be more aware of what they're feeling. So I ask everyone, do you love your job? I ask everyone that. Most people don't tune in when they answer me and they're like, yeah, it's great. I love it. But what I'm hoping is that they'll actually tune in and realize they don't love their job because I do want everyone to do what they came here to do. And I want to bring more awareness to what they're feeling. I don't want to help them stay in avoidance and stay in a job they hate for the rest of their life, kind of thing.
Mhm. Yes, so many people are just going through the motions and we're almost like robots sometimes. Just like when you ask somebody, "How are you?" But then it's like you need to ask them again, like, "No, really, how are you?" Because
Mm,
we're just so programmed to just be like, "Good, how are you?" Instead of actually checking in with ourselves and seeing how are we doing.
yeah, that's so true. You should ask people twice.
My final question I ask everybody at the end, what is your number one health tip? Whether it's mindset, diet, and nutrition, physical, emotional, just the one piece of advice you would like everyone to know.
I would like everyone to know that what you resist persists. So if you are actively trying to distract from your pain, it won't create true healing. So if you really want to create true healing, do the tool that we mentioned, bring more awareness to what you're feeling, bring in the conscious breath, slower, deeper breaths, and then make a conscious choice. Like more awareness, more love. There's no threat to bringing more awareness to what you're already feeling. A lot of people are scared to focus on the negative, but what you're doing is you're bringing awareness to stuff you're already carrying. So there is no threat because awareness is what dissolves it. Resistance is what keeps it in place.
Where can people go to hear more from you?
You can find my website, alishakapani.com. You can find me on Instagram at Alisha_Kapani. I have a YouTube channel, Alisha Kapani, also on Facebook and TikTok, but I would say I'm mostly on Instagram.
Okay, great. All of that is in the description, of course. Thank you so much, Alicia. This has been such a fulfilling, nice, pleasant, amazing conversation.
Thanks so much for having me. This was fun.